Some people say that the problems that we face today are greater than any time since the Depression of the 1930s, but if you throw in the very serious repercussions of global warming, and what that is doing in country after country in terms of these horrendous weather disturbances that we're seeing, the problems facing today may be even greater. So let me just conclude by saying this. Number one, we need to fight for justice to expand to every nook and corner of this country. Millions of people have got to stand up and say enough is enough. In our democratic society, government has got to represent everybody and not just big campaign contributors. Yes, we have to move toward deficit reduction, but I don't want anybody in this room to ever forget how we got to where we got. And that is my Republican friends now, and some of my Democratic friends, very concerned about a $14 trillion national debt. But they forgot to ask for revenue when they voted for 2 wars. Forgot to ask for revenue at that point. Forgot to ask for offsets when they gave $700 billion in tax breaks to the top 2%. I didn't hear a whole lot of discussion about offsets when they bailed out Wall Street. Wasn't there. But now, when you can cut programs for the kids, the elderly, or the sick, oh, that's where we got to go. It's the only way we can balance the budget. Well, that is not what my moral compass is about, and I don't think is what the moral compass of the American people is about. Second of all, jobs, jobs, jobs. The President came up with a proposal. It is a step forward. It doesn't go far enough. Our infrastructure is crumbling before our eyes. China spends 9% of its GDP on infrastructure. We spend 2.2%. Let's rebuild our roads, our highways, our bridges, our tunnels, our water systems. Let's get broadband to every corner of this country. If we do those things, put together a rail system which begins to catch up to where China and Japan and Europe are, we can put millions of people to work. When we talk about transforming our energy system away from foreign oil and fossil fuel to weatherization, to sustainable energy, you can create millions of jobs. When you talk about changing your trade policy so that we do not continue the process by which we have lost 50,000 factories in the last 10 years, many of them shut down, gone to low-wage countries. You reverse that, you're talking about job creation. So that's what we've got to do as well. Last point. In the middle of the worst recession since the Great Depression, you know what you don't do? You don't cut Social Security.
That's right.
That's what you don't do.
That's right.
And anybody who tells you that Social Security is part of the deficit problem is lying to you. Social Security has $2.5 trillion surplus. Social Security can pay out every benefit owed to every eligible American for the next 25 years, and because it's funded by the payroll tax, hasn't contributed a nickel to the deficit. So what we have got to do is not only demand no cuts in Social Security, we need to make Social Security solvent for the next 75 years by lifting the cap. And they say, oh my goodness, we've got to deal with the deficit by raising the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 67, what we say is that 45,000 people are dying this year in America because they don't have access to health care. And we'll be damned if we're going to cause more people to die by raising the eligibility age from 65 to 67. Ain't going to happen. So there we are. What we need is justice in this country. What we need is fairness. We have to move toward deficit reduction. There are ways to do it that are fair and responsible. We have to create millions of jobs. We have to do it right now. We have got to protect the social safety net of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And we are not going to cut programs for children when we already have the highest rate of childhood poverty. Now, can we do all of these things? Yeah, we can. We can do it. You can do it when millions of people say to our Republican friends, you are not going to continue your reactionary ways. We're going to expose you for working for the richest people in the country. That's what you're doing. It's nothing to do with the Constitution, nothing to do with all that fancy stuff. You're getting your money from the wealthy and large corporations, the Koch brothers and all of those guys, and we're going to tell your friends and neighbors and your constituents what's going on. But what we have got to do, and I know what this conference is all about, is putting together that strong grassroots movement. And let me just conclude by saying this. The vast majority of the people in this country agree with us. There's nothing that I have said that does not have the support of the vast majority of people. You go out on the corner and you say to somebody, gee, what do you think about giving more tax breaks to billionaires and cutting Social Security? And that is what the right-wing Republican agenda is. And if you find 1 person in 100 who agrees with that, I would be surprised. So what we have got to do is mobilize, we've got to educate, and we've got to fight. And I thank you all for the work that you are doing. Thank you very much.